Good evening and welcome to AAUW Connections. I'm Vicki Reeder, and tonight our program features three people from Deer Hallow Farm in Mountain View, which is a historic working farm that is part of the Rancho San Antonio Preserve, and I'm sure you'll explain all that to me in just a minute. Our guests are Jessica Morgan, who is the Senior Recreation Coordinator for the City of Mountain View, Sue Gale, who is the President of the Friends of Deer Hallow Farm, and Carla Doro, who is the treasurer of the Friends of Deer Hallow Farm. So let's talk about this place. It's obviously been there for quite a while. I've been there a long time ago when my children were little, but was it always there? I mean, did you save it from becoming developed, or how did it get started?
Well, the farm was first built in the 1860s by the Grant family. It was two brothers. They ran that farm for about 50 years. In the 1930s, a family came in and started a construction company there, and it ran as a business for about 40 years. And then the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space stepped in the 70s and purchased the land and turned it into a preserve for all time.
Cool.
And in a process of keeping this farm running, the City of Mountain View stepped in and helps run programs out of there now.
And then how did the Friends get started? That's not probably as old as the farm, obviously.
No, Friends got started about 20 years ago when it looked like the funding was in trouble. And so a group of local people from Los Altos area formed this 501c3. And since then, we've raised about $850,000 for the farm.
Wow. And what do you do with that? What costs money? You must be in charge of the. You must know all the things about the money.
I am in charge of the money. Well, while Mountain View has funded it for a long time, one of the reasons Friends was started is because when they were looking for funding partners, because they didn't want to do it all on their own. And so that's when Friends got in, and the County of Santa Clara, and they all decided that this was something worth saving. So through donations and grants that we raised through Friends of Deer Hallow Farm, it goes to feed the animals, it goes to help with operations, it goes to help make improvements to the farm and its program, and finally to pay for low-income students to come to school field trips.
So what's there now? What's on this farm?
Well, I believe 5 of our 8 buildings have survived from the 1860s. So we have many historical buildings, a couple barns. We have some buildings that were built during the 50s, so a garage and whatnot. And we have livestock as well. That is definitely a big attraction.
You talking about you were naming names. Does everybody have a name? You talked about Luna or something.
Luna's our famous cow.
She's famous.
So we have cows, sheep, goats, pigs, rabbits, chickens, ducks. We have visitors who come in and enjoy these farm animals. We have field trips program, summer camp. It's quite a popular destination.
So, Sue, how did you become involved? Were you just always interested in nature, or?
Well, a little more than 10 years ago, I retired, and I was looking in the paper, and they were looking for volunteers. So I went out there, and I started being a docent for the field trips. And I did that for a number of years, and then I stumbled on the Friends, the fundraising, and they needed some help, so I also joined there.
Carla, what about you? How did you get involved?
Well, I live in Los Altos, so it's actually within walking distance from my house. So probably like you, go up there and hike. And one day I came across the animals, and I come from a farm. I was raised on a dairy farm in Wisconsin, and I figured the only way to get in the pen with the animals was to volunteer, and that is the reason I started about 15 years ago teaching. And then I also, like Sue, I'm a CPA, a retired CPA, so I'm a pretty good fit for the financial end of Friends of Deer Hallow Farm.
So is this the only farm in Mountain View? I mean,
it's outside of city limits. It's in an unincorporated area of Santa Clara County. But we have a local farm neighboring maybe about 5 miles, the Hidden Villa in Los Altos Hills. So the 2 farms are kind of the peninsula farms.
True, they have Los Altos Hills. And I heard you talking that sometimes the animals. You said something about.
Oh yes, we have visits during breeding season.
The breeding season is what we call it.
We took our sheep and visited the rams over at Hidden Villa.
Very cool.
We've raised piglets from Hidden Villa, and
so they're all related. The Los Altos animals,
cousins,
and the
grandmothers, aunts. They're all mixed up.
Luna came from Hidden Villa.
The famous cow.
Yes. Her grandmother's at Hidden Villa.
What is she famous for? She's just famous.
She's just well known. My goodness, you can walk around town and kids know who Luna is.
Really? So how many kids come to the farm every year?
During our field trip program for kindergarten through 4th graders, we get over 5,000 kids come out. And it spans from San Mateo to South San Jose. So many different schools come in.
So mostly do they come actually as classes?
Yes.
And then the funding the funds that you raise or the people donate subsidize like a whole?
Half of them.
Approximately half of them. We have a standard that based on how many are in the free lunch program.
Right.
And Friends raises money to pay for the students to be able to come to the farm.
Very cool. So a lot of these kids, I know kids at been through Hidden Villa that they've never had, they're urban kids that have never
Right. Well,
had any
what I think
experience.
is amazing is that for the last 15 years or so, almost every kindergartner in Mountain View has come to the farm on a field trip, which is pretty fabulous.
That's very cool.
And then we also have a summer camp program, which attracts mostly Mountain View residents. And we get about 400 kids during the summer.
So it's like
well.
a day camp. It's not a sleepover camp. It's just
for older kids, they spend one night during the
really?
week, which is always fabulous.
Is it like in the barn or something?
We have a replica Ohlone village. So the Ohlones were the Native Americans who lived.
Right. Let's talk about those programs that you mentioned, the projects that you do. The first one you said was Spring Farm Tours. Is that the same thing as the field trip, or?
It's separate. That's a fundraising event that the Friends of the Farm
Well, then tell me a little bit about
Friends
that.
offers field trips on the 3rd Saturday of March, April, and May. And the point of that is to raise money for the farm. It's $7 a person to get in. And it gives the public a chance to go into the pens. And we have docents in the pens, and they answer questions about the animals. And so we do that, as I say, in March, April, and May.
Right.
And then we have another fundraiser in usually in October, Ohlone Day, and that's in that replica Ohlone village.
Okay, so talk a little bit about this. This is something that someone created. Was it long ago where the Ohlones actually living in this area?
The kids always ask
site
that.
is about 10 acres. The Ohlone village is maybe about 2 acres of the whole property. And it was created after the farm was started to be managed by City of Mountain View. So staff, maybe 20 years ago, started working on the Ohlone program, and it was more to get kids connecting with like natural history of the area rather than just the livestock program.
Right.
And we've had volunteers and staff and paid consultants come in and help develop different structures around the village. So we have a sweat lodge, a sleeping house, multiple shade shelters, and then we have replica artifacts at there's about a dozen stations that 3rd and 4th graders will visit. And Ohlone Day is when we open that up to the public.
So so there's an Ohlone Day where everyone can come and participate. Or is there something else that goes on at that?
Well, there's hands-on things that they can try. The kids can try their hands on grinding acorns, and we have demonstrations of fire starting and archery and experts in flint knapping, so that people can learn about the daily life of the Ohlone.
And it really serves a two-part. One is certainly fundraising, but the other part is to get the community involved, because it's certainly a community joint effort. It is not really a Mountain View place per se. It's Los Altos and Los Altos Hills and Cupertino and Sunnyvale, and this gives them a place to see what we do, all get involved, and raise funds too, which is a good thing.
So it's, what do they call it, friend raising as well as fundraising?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Good PR as well as community relations.
It's not just observing something. It's not just like you walk up and look at a poster. You have a chance to actually try to experience something that Native culture developed a long time ago. That's great. So, and there's a nature center?
Yes, we have one of our historical buildings. It used to be an apple shed way back in the day. It's home to a small nature center where we have lots of taxidermy animals that have been donated to us. So we have wildlife, plants, a little bit of Ohlone artifacts in there.
And the star of the place is a stuffed mountain lion, so people can come in and actually see the size and the beauty.
Male, so it's quite big.
It's a beautiful. And so Friends organizes volunteers to come in and staff that on the 3rd Saturday of each month, so that the public can get a chance to get in there. We use it for the field trips, but it's good for the public to come in and see. The exhibits usually feature the local plants and animals that they'll see when they walk through the preserve.
Are people surprised at how big a mountain lion?
Absolutely.
They are.
They usually are accustomed to seeing a bobcat and thinking that's a mountain lion. So.
Well, there are still mountain lions.
Oh yeah, definitely. Alive and well.
Are they well? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a difficult combination having all these people live here with us. And
Well, the
nature
mountain, I think the mountain lions are looking for us. They're probably just looking for the water. And
I
food,
understand that, but it just seems like a difficult.
As civilization moves
Yes,
up.
we've encroached quite a bit on nature in this area, wouldn't you say? So then the field trips you said are through the arranged from classrooms, so teachers can contact. Do they contact the city or do they contact the friends?
That's my job, to send out information every
contact
fall.
them.
Yes, and a good chunk of my time is spent organizing the program and getting everyone registered and whatnot. But
so like you get a busload of kids.
Yes, we usually get 60 kids a day, and we have a fabulous group of about 30 volunteers who help us, school year docents. And so we usually have about 6 docents meeting them in a permit lot in the preserve, and these kids got off the bus, and it's still a half-mile walk to the farm from there. So it's great for them to hop off the bus and be in the middle of the forest.
And then what happens? What do they do after they get off the bus?
Well, it depends. So kindergartners and first graders, we walk them up to the farm and they learn about products from the farm. Our second graders take life science hikes where they're out on the trail for 2 to 4 hours learning about like adaptations and life cycles and various habitats around the preserve. And our older students, 3rd and 4th graders, go to the replica Ohlone Village and work through all those hands-on stations. So
I see.
Variety for all our docents that help out, and we also get to see many different ages of kids as well.
So are the docents that help you different than the docents that help the friends, or is it sort of all one big happy family of volunteers, or small, maybe big is the wrong word. I don't know how many.
Well, Friends is actually a small board. It's 12 people, and that is Friends.
Right.
Now the docents, we use the volunteers at the farm to help us do our work. Fundraising and all of that.
But I think that you hit it on a nail on the head when you said are they one big happy group, and you know, probably I mean, the docents that teach are about 30, but we also have volunteers. You have volunteers who do
we have about,
all the other ones.
At this point, just over 100 volunteers who help at the farm. So we have our school year docents. We have people who come in and do livestock chores for us. There's
do what?
Livestock chores. So there's about 20 very dedicated people who help morning chores, afternoon chores.
What are the chores? Let's just.
So we're feeding animals, cleaning pens, either.
You're talking manure now?
Yes, of course.
Where there's
one of our great products from the farm.
Poop is kind of the
so we have people letting the animals out into the pen so the public can see them, and then in the afternoon, volunteers putting them in for the evening. And you know, volunteers helping out with specific times, like during breeding or birth and. Great learning experience for people. And then we have volunteers who help in our garden and our orchard, help with maintenance projects. On weekends, the farm is very busy, so we have people out in the barnyard educating the public and making sure everyone's happy.
So you have a garden, a small garden you said, that's there, and an orchard. What's in the orchard? Is it just...
We have maybe a dozen different varieties of trees. And
trees.
We actually sell our produce, so you can, you know, seasonally, August, September, you can get apples at the farm.
Persimmons,
plums, peaches. Everything. And we have some a couple hardworking volunteers who make that happen.
So you have, everybody has babies every spring. Is that what we try? You go to visit Hidden Villa, you visit the ram, then so you have sheep and goats, mainly cows.
And cows and pigs.
Okay. Yeah. Then there's babies. And then what happens? I mean, you can't just keep.
Right, so the farm holds on
these families.
We hold on to the mothers, the healthy mothers, and then before the breeding season in fall, we'll sell off the livestock, the young livestock, to either other farms or families who want to, you know, have a pet goat for grazing or whatnot. So
I mean, do you have any trouble? I mean, is it easy to do that, or are people kind of waiting to say, ooh?
We have very healthy animals, so when people are looking to buy a goat, they see our goats and they go, wow, it's a nice looking goat. So
I think one of the most interesting sales was when they sold as pack goats to help on trails one time. So there's a new use I hadn't heard of before, but to buy pack goats.
Right. Do they ever get? You just sell them locally. They don't have to go travel afar, do they? Or?
Between here and Central California.
Oh, okay. Well, in California.
Yes.
Not putting an animal on a cargo plane and
doesn't happen
sending them to New York or something.
No. But it is a homestead farm. It's a replica homestead farm in the sense that.
Can you describe that a little?
Well, that's a farm that a family lived on all the way up to the 1850s or so. Most people in America were farmers, and so they had their own farm where they had a few animals.
Right.
And maybe they would sell the products of the animals to make a little more money, but it wasn't a vast agricultural, huge corporate farm. So we try to preserve it as a homestead farm.
And I should say that our true history is that it was a cattle ranch, so they had about 100 head of cattle. So now we have 2 cows and a lot of different other types of livestock. But if you go to the farm, you'll notice there's a big open air hay barn at the end of the property, and that's where the cows were fed every day. So they were allowed to roam all over the hills and then come back. So we're slightly true to the history of how the farm operated.
And specifically the homestead, though, means what a lot of people, when a lot of farms were created, if you occupied a certain amount, the government gave you the land free if you were going to occupy it. And that is how the Grant brothers did it. And in case anybody's wondering if it's the same Grants as Grant Road is named after, the answer is absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The original downtown of Mountain View was the corner of El Camino and Grant Road. That was the old one before they moved it when the train station came in. If you follow Grant Road and now it's St. Joseph, it led exactly to the end of the Grant farm, and hence the Grant brothers
very
were
interesting.
the Grant.
That didn't occur to me to even ask. I'm glad you brought that up. So is the drought we're having now an issue for the farm?
At this point, no. But we're waiting to make adjustments we need to.
You can. So it's a little bit of a concern. And
Yeah,
I feel like
probably.
we're all feeling concerned.
Yeah.
But so far, I mean, it's not, I don't suppose, there's not like huge irrigation demands out there or anything like that. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk a little bit more then about the funding and support for the farm and how this all works together, because it's interesting to me that there's a lot of different governmental bodies that are all involved. Is that complicated to manage, or I mean,
It's not complicated to manage, and I think it's worked out very smoothly.
It's a very unique partnership, really, in funding. There's the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space, and they own the land.
They own the land
and the buildings, and they provide a ranger.
They provide one maintenance staff and a small budget to take care of maintenance issues. And then the city of Mountain View leases that land from them to operate all the programs out of Deer Hallow Farm. And so when Mountain View puts on the school year program or summer camp, they give residents of Mountain View priority enrollment and whatnot.
And the other funding members actually help Mountain View. So Mountain View is the person who writes the checks and does this. The rest of the funding then goes to them to help them offset that cost. So Mountain View has the fees that are charged for school programs and summer camp, but they also have funding from County of Santa Clara. They also have funding from Los Altos Hills and from Cupertino, as well as Friends of Deer Hallow Farm. So it's not exactly complicated. We just always hope that the funding will continue to be there. So maybe that's the complicated part.
Well, but they don't have, there's not like, they're all happy to let Mountain View be the manager, as opposed to everyone saying, no, I think it would be better if you put the cow over there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's none of that going on.
No arguments about that. No.
They're just, but that's great, because sometimes governmental bodies can have opinions.
It hasn't been a problem, so.
We would like to see more cities, Friends does anyway, and get involved and help support the farm, because we did recent surveys when every time someone would come visit for a week long, we'd say, well, what city are you from? And we kept track of that, and it turns out there's more than 125,000 people come to this farm every year.
Wow.
And they come from all of the Silicon Valley cities. And the biggest users of the farm, turns out, are Sunnyvale and San Jose, Los Altos, Mountain View, Cupertino, and the surrounding area, but all cities in Silicon Valley. So it's truly a Silicon Valley resource and community treasure. So Friends has been seeking funding from other cities to get them to step up, because it's not a Mountain View park. It's a community center, educational center.
Any success to report?
Well, we have Cupertino and Los Altos Hills recently joined us with grants, and we're working on the other cities.
They're kind of big, most of them, except Los Altos. They should be able to have a nickel or two. So what is your annual budget? I mean, what does it cost?
Well, there's two kind of budgets to discuss. There's the farm budget, and then there's the Friends of Deer Hallow Farm budget. So the farm budget is a little complicated because it's coming from all these various sources.
But I can speak that the biggest expense, we have 2.5 full-time staff. And multiple summer hourly staff as well. So I think most of the funds are going towards staff, and then our supplies.
Human
and-
capital, that's
yes.
good. That's good.
So I think you can say that's roughly, not to get too fine a point, but say close to $400,000 a year. So our budget, on the other hand, is merely the amount of donations we bring in, because our expenses, except for a small part to pay for insurance and put out a newsletter, is simply to distribute it to our one grantee. We have one grantee. We don't give out lots of grants. And that's Friends of Deer Hallow. I mean, that's Deer Hallow Farm.
So that works. So you're the Friends fundraisers are these things we talked about before about the Ohlone Days, and so you're the ones that organize that and then turn that money back into the operations of the farm.
So we raise our funds primarily from those fundraising events, and and we have some merchandise sales, but most of our money comes from grants and donations.
Right.
So we write grants to local organizations who, for the most part, have been remarkably great support for us, Mountain View, Los Altos, et cetera, and we keep on working on getting more of those. And then the general donations come from all the users in the local area who come up there and like to see the
wow,
animals.
this is great. Can I help them write? So you don't turn down anyone if they say, "Can I help them write you a check?" Either to the Friends. I suppose it's tax deductible if you're a 501c3.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
So you want more of those people, right?
We
We'd
do.
love to have more of those people.
You're not, you're not overwhelmed with checks.
No, we're not.
Yes,
We can handle it.
So you can more, and there'll be probably information. You have a website, right?
We do. That's www.FODHF,
Friends of Deer Hallow Farm.
.org.
.org, okay. And then the Mountain View, City of Mountain View also has information.
And Deer Hallow Farm is within the Recreation Division, so it's easy to find us.
And I think actually, I looked, I think the Open Space District also links
If you look in the
Yes.
Rancho San Antonio Open Space Preserve, you'll find
it's a little
link.
trickier.
Yeah.
Right.
So what kinds of things do you, and you also, besides money, which of course keeps the place going, there must be other ways. You talked about docents. I suppose you're not overwhelmed with too many of those
It's
either.
always lovely to get more fresh faces.
So how do
and
people, do you have to, are there any qualifications, or do you just...
You must be at least 14 years old.
Okay.
And just have a deep interest in being at the farm, and it's great to have people there for at least 6 months, because there is a fingerprinting process and
So
whatnot,
because you're working with children, so you can't
Absolutely.
just, you need to have some sort of a minimal screening. Okay. And do you get teenagers?
Yes,
kids
so
come out?
I forgot to mention when we were chatting about volunteers, we have about close to 40 high school interns, or also leaders in training, who help out during the summer. So a great group of young adults that help out between ages of 14 and probably 25. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what else do you need? Other people on your website, it said work on maintenance. So you have people that do like chores and stuff? Is that as volunteers?
Yes. So we get a lot of people who either have a passion for animals or just want experience getting their hands dirty, and it's limited how many people we can take in those positions, but we do have a wait list. And
you do.
Opportunities happen. So
All the the farm girls like Carla that can't.
There are amazing number who have had some farm in their history, and then they have a little, they have
a yearning.
affection for a little getting back without the actual physical day-to-day, everyday
once in a while.
But if you can't volunteer, just taking a hike and getting out to see the farm is definitely worthwhile to do.
I need to go back and see this farm.
The training, that you should talk about the training. We get very good training.
Oh, enrichment as well.
Yeah.
We have monthly enrichments that we offer to all of our volunteers. This last month, we had a wonderful docent from Open Space come in and talk to us about mountain lions.
Oh, speaking of.
And then we have a natural dyes workshop coming up as well. So, and then in the school year, we have our docents come in and do maybe like 6 hour total of going through our program, and we walk them through the curriculum and whatnot. So we definitely give support to the new folks.
Well, you were telling me before we started a little bit about a volunteer has written a book.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about this book.
There's a very wonderful children's book that one of our longtime volunteers has just finished. And it follows the story of Sprite, our barn cat, and she goes around to all the different animals and puts them to bed at night. So it's great for, people this...
The little ones.
The little
Beautiful
people.
illustration.
It's a picture book.
It's a picture book, yeah.
And we're selling it from the farm office. It's $10 a copy. It's called Sprite at Night.
So the farm, I presume, is open, you have hours that
Yes.
is like daylight or less,
It's 8 to 4 most days of the week. We're closed Mondays, and we have a half day on Wednesday where we close at 1. Gives us some time to move big equipment around if we need to.
Are there tractors and
Oh yes, so far.
machines and then there's also a little garden that people work into, is that correct?
Yeah, we have a small pool of volunteers who are out there as well.
So you guys that are in the Friends, do you also do all these things? Are you?
I'm mainly a docent,
Okay.
and I think.
I think I'm a docent. I do help out in summer camp by teaching archery, which is a little odd, but, but we've all pitched in wherever we've been needed.
Yeah,
I
we're
think when you
interested,
care
yeah.
about the farm, it's not just one job. I think I can say
not.
that
Yeah, for sure.
pretty much. I also want to mention that we do sell other farm-related things besides the staff who sell the produce and everything. We also sell everything from the mugs, the T-shirts, some nature cards, book, things related to the farm. So along with the book, so that also, the proceeds from that also help fund the farm, but yeah.
So you eggs and
Yes, eggs.
not the milk. You said the milk and the vegetables kind of go back to feed the animals, right? Because there's just not a volume or a processing.
Right, we don't have the
opportunity.
permits for selling
Right.
raw milk.
Right, right.
But the eggs are definitely popular. We sell them from the front office, so I always tell visitors just to keep their eye on the eggs for sale sign, and if it's flipped, that means they're ready for business.
So is there like a chicken? There's a chicken. Is there a chicken?
We do have a flock of about 60 to 80 birds. So at the
They all
peak
have
of the year,
names? They don't all have names.
We're not that
we're
bad.
lucky if we have a chicken with a name. So
The cows and the sheep have names.
We're in a brand new coop, just about.
Yes, the Friends have given us funding for this new project. Our coop will be ready to move in our rabbits and our chickens by the end of this month. So
Little chicken U-Hauls coming up.
So there's something new besides new babies.
So
we
that's
have-
definitely something to keep your eye on if you're visiting the farm.
Every year, Friends gives money for farm improvement projects, and
Right.
these projects are proposed by the staff and
Right.
also by Mid-Penn. So
Right.
some of the projects we've done are a new chicken coop and an amphitheater in the Ohlone Village, and a trailer for the animals for transport,
And you've funded the new sweat lodge.
new sweat lodge in the village.
Many of our new beautiful signs around the barnyard. Our nature center.
great.
Got,
But you're not running out of ideas and projects for the Friends.
never
to-
run out of ideas.
Well,
That's the fun
no,
part.
what we're running out of, we are running out of time for this show. So it's almost time to wrap up. I don't know if you have any last words or you want people to come and you.
Absolutely. Come and see the farm, enjoy the animals.
And come to our
Take a
farm
hike.
tours on the third Saturday of March, April, and May.
And if it seems confusing to get there, just get on the website.
Grant Road.
Don't use Google Maps because they may send you in the wrong direction.
Okay, Grant Road. Okay, well, thank you all so much, Jessica and Sue and Carla.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching us. This is AAUW Connections. I'm Vicki Reeder, and we hope you'll come back and see us again another night. Thanks.